Welcome to the Beyond Tax podcast. This podcast is aimed at the firm owners that are successful, but know there's something more and are actually even living through burnout, become addicted to burnout and cortisol, but know there's a better way and want to do it. Let's just say it that way. So we met by me listening to you speak with Michelle Weinstein, another coach in this space, and I was impressed about your career track and how you've been there, done that, and said there's got to be a better way. Over to
That's
you.
right. Thank you for having me, Trow. And first of all, I think it's nice that we both color coordinated in our outfit. So I think that's an extra bonus. Today's Blue Day. Um, so yeah, I mean, I am speaking in this mode and talking to accountants because I suffered myself. And I think most of us are driven with passion to make the world better for other people so they don't go through the pain that we go through. And it's been a long journey, and I've been trying to get accountants to deliver services that matter to clients so that their own value will be appreciated and elevated. It's really my mission.
Well, and you make that point about want to help others. I've met some that said, I don't know, sound like a good way to make a living, and here I am. And I'm thinking of a partner of a very successful $15 million firm. He was pulling down, you know, $600,000 a year, but he didn't really care. There was so much work. He didn't need to care. He didn't get involved in the next layer that your and my brain might open up to. Said, well, wait a minute. They just asked for a referral for a cost seg. Shouldn't I already know who's best and why they're best and steward that process?
Yeah.
So I guess we need to delineate. There may be accounts out there that really don't care. It's just a job. So this is for the ones that do care.
That's right. That really makes me sad that somebody's doing it for that reason. But there are, and those people are the ones who are automating everything so they don't have to interface with clients. And at some point, the clients aren't going to be there anymore because clients are not going to get enough out of that. They want the personal touch. I mean, for me, the whole reason, and I didn't know what I was getting into when I started in accounting. I wanted a job and I wanted something that had to do with numbers. And I thought it was a lot of math, which is what I liked. And it wasn't math and it wasn't advanced calculus. It was rules and balance. But what I discovered is that the role that we have as accountants is one of the most private personal connections that you can have with a person. When they disclose all the financial details of their life, that is extremely personal. So to be in a position where we're their confidant um, is a very important position, and it's an honor to do that. And so for me, not being able to help somebody when I could see that they didn't have cash flow or they couldn't pay their tax liability that I handed them was a tremendous psychological burden for me. And I think that more than anything else is why I decided to leave an accounting firm doing tax as a partner. The day I made partner, I quit because I'm like, I can't take this anymore. I can't help them. And yet I'm, doing these calculations and I need to be able to help them more. I need to be able to help them solve that $50,000 tax liability, help them figure out how to pay it at least, not necessarily reduce it. And part of the reason that they had a big liability that they didn't expect is they didn't meet with me all year because I was so busy doing the other 10, 50, the other 15th of the month deadline stuff. And I never had a moment to call somebody and say, how are you doing? What's happening with that business? And so that really motivated me to go figure out what I could do to make it better for not only the client, but the accountants who were burning themselves out, like what you're talking about, Tro. There's still a heck of a lot of those people. And people that do have the passion are suffering because they can't find time to do better work for their clients. And working, and my solution was to work longer and harder, and it didn't work because I got burned out and also less effective when I ended up coming back to the office.
So again, to aim this at the right population, I
Yeah.
guess we need to ask the listeners to ask themselves, do you feel the same way?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if so, then it becomes easy. Then if not, keep doing what you're doing and have a nice life, right? Live your life your way. But I'm with you because the knee bone is connected to the thigh bone, right? Everything's connected to everything. In fact, I just had a call with, and we're taping a podcast next Friday with a partner that's building out the cast for a national accounting firm. And I, since at this level, the million to 2 million, they do handle everything. You know, it's not, that's the specialty, that's my box, that's my silo.
Yeah.
But I asked him, okay, so with all the organization and proper flow to get a good trial balance, what do you do about the tax? Oh, that's tax partner. I don't touch that. I rolled with it, but to me, that's a problem.
It is.
You know, oh, well, what about the advisory? Well, that's FP&A. We have a division for that.
Yeah.
So how do we, okay, so we've got this accountant that has all those characteristics we talked about, with the most important two being I truly care about my client. I know there's more I can do for them, and they are willing to change, right? That
That's right.
without those two, we're talking, we might as well be out talking in a strong wind.
Yeah. And I've been doing that for a while, Trow, talking to this in the strong wind. So
To ourselves, hoping other people will hear us. Um, so imagine we're talking to those people. What tools, what systems, what attitudes, what uh, conversational cadences, meeting cadences do we say, hey, it's not that hard, just do this first?
well, I do training for advisors, and I found training when I left the firm. I went into high tech because I thought I could find some automation that would make us better as accountants, that could translate our language to other folks. And I first went to an accounting software company called Navision, and I built the accounting alliances for that software. And my message then was, you need to understand technology at least enough to refer your clients to something that'll solve their problem. They were hesitant to do that because of the risk, right? If I recommend a piece of software and it doesn't work, then it's my fault. So they were hesitant. But so as a result, they ended up not knowing very much and not being very helpful when clients were struggling with solving an automation problem. But then I went and I started doing speaking after that. I discovered that speaking was the thing that I really should have been doing all along. A lot better talking about it than doing it, Trow, especially when it came to tax. So 15 years of doing that, and it was finally so. Anyway, then I found a dashboard tool, an interactive dashboard tool that you could change levers and show your client how to improve their cash flow. And to me, this was like, like Nirvana, the clouds parted and the trumpets blasted and all of that. And I was like, this is the thing I've been looking for. The
Is it still
accountants are
around?
nuts.
Is it
What?
still, is that tool still around?
It was called ACPAC CFO, and it basically and it came from Australia, and it lasted for a while, and then it was acquired by I think CCH, and then it kind of died on the vine. And then Fathom came along that has that same slider, show me what happens capability in its goal seek function, which I talk about all the time. But anyway, but that tool, so I go in front of account. I actually joined a company which was ACPAC software, specifically to sell that tool to accountants, and I would go around to accountants, and they would go, where's the report? I'm like, what? Yeah, they can print it, but the thing is, here's a visual. You can show them and move things and show them the outcome. I'm not doing that. What do you mean? Well, what if they ask me how to do it? So you can improve AR days. If you improve AR days by 10, cash flow goes up this much. Well, what if they ask me how to improve AR days? And I was like, well, you help them figure out how to do it. Well, I don't know how to do that. I'm not showing them that. And I had this whole, so people were and I didn't know either. I mean, I'd never been trained in that. I could tell you it's terrible and come back next year and I'll tell you if it's better or not, right? I mean, we know how to account for history, we measure it. And so by doing this, I started going, well, I need to explain to these people what the things are that they can do to make AR days better. And then I started looking for tools that would help me get better. And I found some advisory training that I've been speaking about and using ever since. But this is a tool that gave me comfort in doing that. So what I learned from that is I don't have to know how to tell them to fix it. I need to educate them so they can see the problem and then help them break down what's going on in their business so that they can find their own solution. And that is the biggest shift we have to make.
Do that
Because
again. That's gold. So roll it back, and with that, I think we've just teased out the title of the podcast right there. So what did you just say?
it is not my job to solve the problem. It is my job to identify that there is a problem and then help them investigate the components of that that led to that outcome and then help them figure out where to fix it. But they have the answers. And that is the biggest shift we had to make and that I had to make. I'm not showing up with a sign that says expert in your business. I'm showing up with you're the expert. I'm going to help you get data that makes you even smarter about the next decision that you're going to make.
Wow, that's powerful. Because as a business coach with a business coaching system, metronomics underneath me, I know I have the system that will tease out. It's let's just put it through the grinder and out will come the answer. So,
Yeah.
wow. Okay, so now, again, my ultimate business model is I want to coach the CPAs to have a better business, let them see, oh, there's a process to this, and then bring that to the business owners. And in my dream world is that there are no standalone 1040s or 1120s or 1120Ss. Only if you've done the professional accounting. Notice I didn't say bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Professional accounting from the beginning all the way through. No journal entries to wipe out managerial data. Let's account for it such that we've got an actual story being told that allows you to show up like that and say, hey, this could be better. Don't know how yet, but let's just put that in the hopper to fix later. Genie, that's amazing. That's great. How's it going? I mean, are you getting traction? Who listens to you?
You know who's listening first? And I started speaking to CPAs back in 2000 about advisory. And I would have a room full of accountants who were sitting there with their arms folded, and I would finish and they would kind of go, okay. And, I thought they hated me and they weren't getting anything. And sometimes I'd get a good evaluation, but they would go back and do what they were doing. Um, the level of fear in the profession was very high. And also the level of overwork, it has not changed in 20 plus years. We're still so busy. Why should I go do something that scares me? So, and then I started speaking at bookkeeper conferences. And the difference is if you're not doing CAS, client accounting service, if you're not in the books with the client, you do not feel the pain that that client is experiencing. You're seeing the general ledger. That's all I ever saw. And I've translated it to the tax return and boom, right? I wouldn't even notice what the numbers were doing. If they asked me how they did, I didn't know. I didn't care. It went in this line in your M1 balances. That's your tax return on the corporate side. Balances, I'm a happy camper, right? Everything balanced, I got it in the right box. I don't care how much you owe or whether you're doing well or whatever. I got another return on my desk. That was the focus. I got 25 things piled up here, and they're all going about half of them are going to be wrong because it's going to take me, twice as long as a good accountant to make it work. But I mean, the focus was get this thing done. And so having a conversation about what to do about AR. But if I'm in the books every month and I'm going, oh my God, they're not gonna be able to meet payroll, I've got some incentive to go find a better way. And so when I started speaking to that community, they were all like, oh, this is what I want to do because I'm tired of not being able to help. I want to understand when I see that cash flow is bad, what can I do to help them fix it? And so they're taking it and doing it. I was in groups that met 3 times a year to talk about advisory with CPAs. And we would meet 3 times a year. I started presenting as part of that once I found this methodology, which is the one that I now teach. I ended up acquiring the rights during COVID. And so now I provide online training. But I would go to these like mastermind groups 3 times a year. All the CPAs would be there. They paid, in some cases, 20 grand to get this training. And they paid additional money to come to these things. They would come in every time, and the instructor, who's Edie Osborne, who created all these materials, would say, okay, what are you doing with it? And everybody except one person would go, well, we haven't really gotten around to it yet. And it was just the most, and for both of us, we're like, what? And the one person in the room who's doing it is the firm that I'm now part of. I joined him and I left the software world and started working part-time with him because he was doing it in wine country in Napa Valley. So again, I'm from South Carolina.
I love it. Let's go down let's agree to go down two paths. I want to know more about this Edie Osborne because I saw that on your website and you've got
Yeah,
licensed it, and I said, oh, what does that mean? Then it's online training because I want to
yeah,
make sure we talk about that. But let's talk more about this one you joined because you wouldn't have joined them if they weren't thinking, if you guys weren't thinking the same way.
that's right. And I had been in class after class with him and he was doing stuff. And it also happened to be that I had been transferred to California by Sage. So I was with Sage Software. I was a VP at Sage doing accounting tech stuff. They moved me from Atlanta to California. And I'm an hour away from where he is in Napa Valley, California. I was in Pleasanton. And so when I left Sage, he had heard me talk about it and said, you've been speaking about this stuff. Come help me do it with wineries. And I went,
So
hold on there, buddy.
okay, well, wait. Because to me, that would be like a client testimonial, or the whole transformation. You're supposed to interview them to get the testimonials. What was your transformation? Where were you before you met Jeannie now? So tell me about that journey, about did, did he have these components? Did he care about his clients and
Oh,
he desired to change?
he found this training before I found it and it started going. And immediately after every session, Edie would share some tool. He would go back and do it because he was a former auditor and he wanted to make a difference. He cared about this valley and the people in it. It's a small community and he wanted to make it better. That was his why. I have his why on our website for the CPA firm. Is really deep in his soul wanted to do something that mattered. He wanted to elevate the industry and the individuals within it. And that's, I mean, we were connected from the beginning. I actually coached him through the software that I was selling. That's how we first connected and saw him doing stuff. And he was really translating the tool to what he could do with the client. And he just took it and ran with it.
So what has that meant for him, his firm? I'm going to go with check the box. He's more satisfied with his career and his impact. But now let's get demographic. Has it given him amazing growth? Has it given him more time with his family? Has it given more impact in the community? That those
He's
kind.
now retired, Trow, so it worked. He just retired.
Okay, who's running
I
the firm
came
now?
so I'm still in the firm, and he's got a new managing partner who's doing the same stuff. We're in a boutique firm with 22 professionals in the middle of Napa Valley. All of our clients are wineries. He made it work, and I came in as a part-time advisory only, no tax, thank God, no audit, thank goodness. We did not have a client accounting service practice. So we go in, if something strange comes up, I go in and consult with these wineries, but we started marketing by giving away free training to the valley. So we did the why statement. We figured out why we existed as a firm, and his why was we believe that our employees know what they're doing, so we trust them. We believe that our customers know stuff, so we listen to them. And we believe that we live in a magical place. We want to keep it that way, basically. That's encapsulating what it was. So we sat down and said, how do we get more people to know that we're not your standard accounting firm? We had to go against brand to do advisory because
Go
people
against
think
what?
against brand. The CPA brand represents tax in most people's minds. If you say you're a CPA, they go, can you help me with my taxes? I mean, that happens to me all day long.
Okay,
We
okay.
had to go against brand. We are not a tax firm. We want to help you improve your business. So we went, how are we going to do that? We did some mailers, we did a bunch of stuff. And finally, we got to show them. We got to get in front of these people. And so we started doing free training classes. And I'm an instructor, I'm a speaker. So we said, well, let's do these classes. And I said, what are we going to charge? And he said, if we really believe what we say we believe, we need to give it away because we want to help the valley, whether it profits us or not, and that will pay back in the long term. And that's how we started doing. I started doing free classes. I've been doing those for 18 years now, and all of our business comes from that. They hear us, we talk about something. I teach them nerdy stuff and do goofy things with numbers. And we have a redneck winery that's our case study. They have their own website, LeCoupRougeWinery.com. It's a redneck family trying to do a winery because I took what I had, and this was the big lesson for me. I don't know squat about how to make great, expensive Cabernet. I barely know how to pronounce it. I was drinking Franzi in a box, and for me to come into wine country, and go, I'm an expert, would be ridiculous. So I said, I don't know how to do what you do, but I can help you understand some of the accounting and we can dig into what's going on within your business. I can help you document it. I can help you get data. I can automate stuff that's driving you crazy, but I ain't no wine expert. And so that
Wow.
shift is what made me able to go in there without being terrified. I was still terrified of my first couple of meetings. Like, I don't even know what they're talking about. But it also gave me an advantage because I asked a bunch of questions.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
they didn't expect me to know anything sounded like this. So it was well, I don't understand why you're doing that. And they will go, oh, well, I'm not sure. We've just always done it that way. You know? So
Oh, Jeannie. Yeah, this is amazing. So the crude label on that is that you niched.
that's right. I'm
But
glad
it's
you didn't say niche, Trow. That's highfalutin. We say niche, like ditch.
yeah, you say potato, I say potato.
That's
Um,
right.
it's like the Indians in my clientele, they just put the emphasis on the wrong syllable.
That's right. That's right.
Um, and by the way, they giggle at that, so it's not meant to be racist. Um, uh, wow, Jeannie, this is amazing.
So first of all, I didn't build the niche. He already had that in place. They had
I
already
got,
established that,
I,
and they already had the goal
yeah,
of being focused on a market. But also, at some point after I'd been there, people kept calling and wanted help with the books, with the transactional stuff. And I kept going, you guys, we got to help them with this. They're struggling. And they kept saying we don't have the bandwidth, we don't know that market, we don't know how to do it. And I said, well, I'll do it. And they said, go ahead. So in 2014 I launched a bookkeeping business for wineries. I built the team. I had a partner who helped. Really, she became CEO because I didn't want to run the thing. I wanted to do the stuff and help the client. And so together we formed this thing, and we were in it. And I also wanted to see, why is it so hard for them to get their books right? What's the issue here? And then I got in there and went, oh my gosh, this thing is a mess. Disconnected applications, all kinds of stuff with teams. Accountants undervalued, using tools that didn't fit. Huge opportunity for automation. But that really gave me the perspective on what was happening. So 2022, I closed it. So I did it for 8 years and I had a team. And by then, we couldn't find staff. In 2022, nobody wanted to do accounting anymore. All the bookkeepers, I don't know what happened to them, but they disappeared. And so by that time, my partner and I had both, our other stuff had gotten a lot more busy. So we stopped doing it. But that experience, and to me, that was when I went, this is where advisory happens, because it's the day-to-day stuff that's killing these folks. It's the AP flow, it's the managing the cash, it's getting payroll done. I mean, it's using all the automation in this space. And I've been working with all these automated solutions for years, but to be able to put them in place and see what they were doing was a huge benefit to me and hopefully to the clients that we worked with. But if you've got that practice in place, that is a gold mine. But you've got to educate and elevate the people that are doing it. If you've got people who are just all about the balance, and when I'm in a bookkeeping mode, I just want to get all the transactions in there. And I want to get the bank reconciled and I want to get it done and I want to go to the next month. I have people who come through the training that never presented a financial to a client. First of all, that tells you the client doesn't give a darn about the financials. And secondly, you're not doing a service for that client. They don't care if their bank is reconciled. They want to know what's going on, and you don't know how to tell them. Client calls up, how am I doing? I don't know, but your bank balances, yay. So,
so how do we help the accountant that desires change, understands it has to happen, desires it, knows it's going to take some time, and cares about their clients, isn't numb to their client situation? How do
yeah,
we help them take the first step?
it starts with the first prospective client meeting, and this is what changed my life. And this is so Edie Osborne, so the company's called Mentor Plus, written a book on Firm Forward. I've been teaching a long time before I came along. She'd been in front of accountants, and every time an accountant would come up with an objection, she'd create a tool to overcome that objection. Because the biggest thing is, how do I start? What do I do? You start with a bunch of different questions that you've never asked before. She created a grid. It's called a scope. I call it scope grid. Instead of just asking them what the fire is, what the financial problem is, and jumping into a spreadsheet to solve it, which we all love, right? Pull up the spreadsheet, let's fix that problem. What you do is you back them up and go, okay, you have 5 areas of the business. Financial, which is the S in scope, a dollar sign is the S. Financial, customers, operations, people, and end in mind. All of these things together are what's driving the financial outcome you're trying to achieve. We got to
What
go across those areas.
what was the last one?
End in mind, what you're
Oh,
aiming for.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's a financial problem. It isn't created in the general ledger. It's created on somewhere else. The customer side, operations, people, and your big goal exit strategy, end in mind, what you're aiming for. Somewhere you're off track. We got to investigate all 5 of those areas. We ask first, what's working? How many times I never asked the client, tell me what you did right. Ever. We didn't care about that. What's on fire? Let me put it out. Boom, water. First meeting, you've given away all your value, right? You solved the problem. Oh, you need to put in bill.com and
Yeah.
solve your AP
See,
issue.
this is such a rich conversation, but let's, you just brought up the topic. How do you get the accountants to realize their value and show up boldly demanding recompensation for the value that they can do, will bring?
This series of questions, you ask what's working across the 5 areas, what's broken, and what is your ideal outcome in each of those 5 areas. When you have interviewed a client and asked that and filled in that, it's like a bingo card grid. At the end of that meeting, 100% of the time, the client will go, wait a minute, are you an accountant? And that's when we go, yeah. And Craig and I, the managing partner, would go in the back and go, yeah, we got them. And they would, that's what nobody's ever asked them that stuff. The value is evident. And now they've got the pain flashing at them on this document. It says, oh my gosh, I got all these things. And here's what I really want. And the disconnect between where I am right now and where I want to be is going to motivate me to bring in somebody that can help.
All right. So
That's
how
how
do
you
I
change the
got it. So how
perception.
do I connect you to my clientele? Because I don't have that tool. I understand the power of it. I use a context document, but it's not a
Yeah.
bingo card. So rather than try and recreate something that's already been created, what would be the cross pollination that you and I could do?
I have the impactfuladvisor.com. I can put it through some training. But you're already doing some training. But I have a bunch of, so the magic of what I've got is here's what you do when you're sitting across from a client. That's what all my tools are focused on because
Hmm.
that's what we have. And the biggest challenge we have is overcoming our own lack of confidence in ourselves. And these tools, if you do the tools, it works. And I came into wine industry and I went, I got to trust the process. I'm terrified. I don't know squat about how they do it. Asking them these questions, by the time you've done that and then you go to the next step.
No, well, let's go back to the collaboration.
Yeah.
So I saw you had online. So you don't do in person. They buy an online course and they work themselves through it.
That's right. They can. Yeah. And I also do an add-on once a month live webinar
Hmm.
that they can purchase in a package or add to it separately after they finish.
I
Um,
don't know how much, I didn't even go further to see how much it costs, but I'm thinking that would be smart for me to build into my deliverable and cover the cost, because then it forces them to uh, forces me to use it because I'm paying for it, and then it forces them through it because it's part of what they're paying me to do with them. Does that step on your toes?
no, no.
Okay.
If you roll into what you're doing, no, we'd love to have you send people our way. So you're working on how to improve the firm, right?
That's a good question. I don't have a succinct thing. I'm just intuitive about, you would
What
call
they
it the fire, you know,
Yeah,
and I'm intuitive about we got this journey. We don't have to do it in an order. We have to just do it all.
yeah.
So I yeah I should show you. That's another time, and Ace will cut out this full mumbling that I'm doing. But no, no. My backstory is I've experienced shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves twice in my family's history. I've got a book over here on the book printed by when the Trowbridges were really rich. He had it commissioned that started in the 1600s when the first Thomas Trowbridge came over from England. And then my dad stepped in it, couldn't get it off him. He just was so successful. But alcoholism, divorce, suicide.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just it. But as you've been in that place where you've seen all the good and the bad and the ugly, and you're not numb to it. So it's more the rule than the exception that out outward facing success.
Doesn't mean internal.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So that's what drives me because I know it's going on. Wow, they're notorious in their neighborhood, but they're so successful. But
Right.
uh, and then I bring my tax planning and whatnot. I want to create cascading intergenerational tax-free wealth. So it's such a big ball of goals that how do I enlist the accountants to help their business owner clients have better lives? That's really my mission, is to help change the business of accounting so that not only do accountants have better lives, but they help their clients have better lives.
That's why we're talking, Trow. That's just the same mission. My why is I believe there's magic in the numbers, and I want to unlock the magic so more people can apply it in creating the life of their dreams. And that applies to both the accountants and their clients. But because of the mystery around numbers, people are not taking advantage of them to do things differently. And I think
Wow.
that's our mission. And I think from my experience, and maybe the people that come to the stuff that I'm talking about, but most accountants did it because they really do care about these business owners. May not have known that's what they were getting into, but once you sit down with somebody who is just at the end of their rope and struggling, and they come to you and they share that with you, I defy you to try to not help that person. I mean, at some point, it's
Well,
like you almost want to write them a check and send them home with some money in the
the
bank.
problem is, Jeannie, you're looking through the world through your lens.
Yeah,
There are some that are either numb and will never be cured, or just numb. So we have to check the box that you truly do have a why that is aimed at the betterment of your clients' lives. But
yeah,
without
and
that, say, you go your
yeah,
way, but
that's right.
that's a required requirement. So I'm now thinking that we should have you attend what started out as a small group due diligence around tax strategies, but I because I've got a client in that the former client, now we're like colleagues working together on tax stuff, that she's got a $2 million firm in San Jose that she's already aware, as a lot of progressive accountants are aware, that in 2 years with AI, you'll just blow a kiss at the tax return. It
That's
will be
right.
done. So where's the value? And then you go to the next, I mean, with AI and all the ability to, which tax strategy works. Jackie Myers has, sold
Yeah,
sort of tax plan IQ. Is it perfect? No, but it's the first step at, you know, here's the PDF, OCR it, match it up with the right strategy, put in a little bit deeper analytical tools than are inside it now. But where can the accountant leverage that relationship they have that is so, like you said, really should be hallowed, that your
it's privileged.
time
Yeah, it's a privilege.
was so wide open that they've trusted you, and then you show up and do nothing with it.
That's the dilemma.
So
Um,
I would
and
like to invite you to that small group
I'd
sometime soon,
love to.
when we get out of, we're in this end of year. Okay, do we get all the tax
Mad
plan
rush.
nailed down? But
Yeah,
January, when they've got the team doing the 1099s and the W-2s, that would be a good time to have a thought leader like you join us.
I'd love to do that. I think we are very similar in mission and focus, so I'd love to talk about that. But I mean, really, this was the same challenge that I had, which is why it resonates with me. I didn't know what to do, and I really didn't understand the levers you could push to improve cash flow, for example. And again, that's why when I found a tool that did that, it's all started to click for me. Oh, inventory, here's how it affects cash flow. It's why I'm selling a bunch, I'm showing a profit, but there's nothing in the bank because I'm producing more than I'm selling and those kind of things. That's the kind of conversation our clients need us to have that we are not having. And I never crossed a financial with the ratio. I would do the P&L stuff over there and I'd do the balance sheet stuff over there, and I would never compare what's happening to the two, which is where the magic is.
You have to tell me more about that. I know variance analysis and all that good stuff, but I've never heard of comparing the two. That's cool.
Well, because that's how we're trained. Here's a ratio, and we think this is what advisory is. I'm going to create 25 ratios and give them to you. And they're all after the fact ratios of what's broken again. And I'm going to do the same thing I was doing before. Where it changes is when you go below those ratios to the activity inputs, but that's one thing. But so for the wine industry, I have production, I have sales, I have a whole bunch of inventory that I'm accumulating for multiple years. 3 to 5 years, I got wine in the cellar in bulk, juice. If I decide to produce at a given rate, and this is where the winemakers love to produce stuff because it's creative. I'm building a new SKU, a new product, anything. So they keep adding to the inventory in the winery. When you look at the sales growth, if the sales growth rate is lower than the production rate, you're going to burn through cash. So you take the sales growth from the
Way around.
P&L,
Other way around.
sales growth, and compare it to the growth in inventory as a percentage.
Right.
If the sales ratio is growing at a slower rate than production, you're burning cash.
Exactly.
But those are two different financial statements. It's that comparison, the cross of those two graphs, that's going to tell you got a cash flow problem. Same thing with AR and sales. If sales are growing at 5% and AR is growing at 10, then you got a collection problem. But we're over here analyzing and saying day sales is bad, and we're saying margins are fine, and we're not looking across those two. And so what the goal seek does is show you, and this is, I mean, I spent my career trying to get owners to understand profit and cash are not the same thing. And I would beat my head against the wall and I would go, you got to understand. And I would come in and I had a client say, we had a profit until you came in and did whatever you did and took away all of our sales. And I don't know what happened to our cash. And I would go, yeah, it's right in my briefcase. I got a boatload of cash I'm taking out of the building with me because I'm here to count it. It was like, let's look at your cash flow statement. Oh, inventory grew at a huge rate. There's half of it. And you didn't collect on all that stuff you sold. But it just didn't register. But when I pull this thing up and I slide a lever and I go, here's your cash flow. It's negative 500,000. You want to get to what? And they say 100,000. Okay. Here's what happens if you just focus on volume and you see cash flow get worse. And they're like, what? Well, if you're not making enough on the stuff you're selling more of it isn't going to help. And if you're selling a bunch and not getting paid for it, that isn't going to help. So you got to work on this AR thing, which is down here. So the balance sheet and the P&L, it's a
Okay. Okay. But now I'm busy though. I have another tax return to do. How do you
okay.
get to slow down and have fewer, deeper relationships?
You start with one new client. You ask them those questions I told you to ask. You elevate your fee and you go, I'm going to do this and I'm going to help you address these things in addition to doing the taxes because I know that matters to you. And I'm going to charge you this amount up front. And then I'm going to charge you this. I'm going to work with you for a year. And at the end of the year, we're going to see what kind of progress you make. And then we'll reevaluate. And if you start with one and you see what you have to see the way the client reacts in order to understand what it feels like. And that first one, and even
React
if they
reacts to the presentation or reacts to the year?
reacts to your conversation when you ask them what's working, and when you ask them what's working, it gives them a chance to brag about all the stuff they got right that they never think about. And so then you go, okay, so this is amazing. Look at all the stuff you did. Did you meet payroll? Yes, you did. Well, there you go. That's one. Do you have some customers? Yeah, well, you're successful. How are you? And whatever. So you write it down. Let's remember that so we can do more of it. And then let's focus on what you got to work on. And then what's the dream? What's the vision of where we want to be? And watching them go, wow, I've never thought about it that way. This is very useful is step one. Because now I'm going, okay, this is cool. I'm doing something that they care about.
When have you already written your book?
I've written a book behind me called How to Make a Boring Subject Interesting. But Edie wrote the book on this training that I do, this Firm Forward book. Edie Osborne, it's on Amazon. It's about the methodology. The level 5 training is what it's called.
I-
But I would love to write another book about
Well, let's
power quest.
talk about that. Let tell you what. What is it, 11? So we didn't even burn an hour yet. When you think about the theme that you want this episode to be called, what pops to mind?
How to make your client feel like the expert and your value will, I don't know.
How to show you, how to exhibit your value by making your client the expert.
That's right. That's the message. That's really, and that is the hardest thing for people to accept. Make your client the expert and watch your value rise.
Wow, you did it. Good job. Hey, Geni, thanks so much for this amazing session on the Beyond Tax Season podcast.